All right, we have inside information from a Detroit Lions insider that I listen to quite often, that I read his work, and quite frankly, I trust what he says. The source is Jeff Risdon. He is one of the beat writers for the Detroit Lions. He has been around for a minute and does a very good job and understands what's going on with the team. He was asked a very intriguing question recently, which will bring us to an entirely new topic today, on are the Lions about to make a huge mistake, or is this a huge victory? And it's a question that I'm going to ask you in a second. And it all is regarding our speedster wide receiver, Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams has looked amazing last offseason, and that when Dan Campbell talked good about him, it turned into his by far most productive year of his career. He went over 1,000 yards last year by like a yard, right? I think he had like 7 touchdowns, something like that. Became a true number 2 threat. He is getting the same type of praise from Dan Campbell already throughout OTAs. I guess he's put on 5 pounds of muscle. And hey, look, I know we're in best shape of your life season, but they actually do have things that can measure this stuff. Like, they have ways to find out what your weight is, and was it muscle that you put on, or was it fat, or like, did you have too many cheeseburgers, or did you turn those cheeseburgers into, or was it lean protein and you were working out like crazy? Like, they can figure that out now. This is no longer a question. This is no longer a surprise. So we have this happening with Jameson Williams. So I would imagine this year will also be good. It's just crazy how things change in the NFL. Like, it goes from Jameson Williams is going to be traded, Brad Holmes being like, no, that's never the case. And now all of a sudden we're hearing that a deal is about to get done, that they're about to sign him to a long-term extension. So that's my question for you. Do you want Jameson Williams on a long-term extension? All right? Yeah, that's what I want to know. And so we're gonna dive into all the numbers. This is when I get to be a cap nerd. I love doing this. So let's first look at where this is happening and where we're looking at. All right. During a recent mailbag episode of the Detroit Lions podcast, Jeff Risdon took an online question asking who is the next player likely to receive a contract extension from 3 choices: Jameson Williams, Jake Bates, or Brock Wright. Okay. Weird question of 3 people. But where did you come up with those 3? Like, what? I would have put Jameson Williams in there with Sam Laporta. I would have put him in there with I would have been totally different. But Risdon expressed that JMO is getting done sooner rather than later. Very, very extraordinarily confident in that. He was the first-round pick in 2022. He is currently slated to earn $15 million in 2026 as a result. They've already signed him to that extension. So we know he's going to be here for 2 more years already. And we're starting to hear like an extension could be done. So do you like this belief of let's get the deal done now so that by the time the player has the contract, it ends up looking like a value deal? Now, you need to bet on a few things. You need to bet that Jameson Williams is going to continue to be as good or better than he currently is. And you need to bet on the fact that he's not going to have major injuries that are going to derail his career. Like, those are some of the hard things. You sign Aleem McNeil to a large extension. You save some money on that extension because you did it early, but then he tears an ACL. Like, what does that look like? These are some of the difficult things. So then the next thing I have to ask myself is, what is Jameson Williams worth as far as money goes? And these are the top salaries based on average right now in the NFL. These are the top salaries based on average right now in the NFL. I'll get my picture over here, so hopefully you can see this a little bit easier. Jamar Chase is insane money. That's $40 million. Justin Jefferson at 35. Now, again, when you look at this and you see all these guys and you get Amon-Ra St. Brown down here at 6, you realize that by getting out ahead of it early with St. Brown, we saved $5 million a year. Because if we had done this after the CeeDee Lamb, the Justin Jefferson, and stuff like that, we would have been paying St. Brown right here in this $35 to $34 million. So we had a good deal on him. But how much is Jameson Williams going to command? So here's the way I look at it. J-Mo is a number 2 wide receiver. It doesn't mean that he is the 33rd best receiver in the league, right? Because there was 32 number 1 wide receivers better than him. That's not true. What it means is that he's a number 2 on his team. So when I look at contracts and I look at what I think he should make, I'm going to compare it to other number 2. So A.J. Brown made $32 million, or he's making $32 million average annual value per year. His number 2 wide receivers right here, Devontae Smith, he got $25 million. Jamar Chase is making $40 million a year. His number 2 is T. Higgins. He's got $28.75. Okay? You have Tyreek Hill on here, a number 1, making $30 million. His number 2 is right here, Jalen Waddle, making $28.25. Okay? So I look at these guys as number 2 wide receivers. This is what they're making. All right? Mike Evans is considered a number 1. Chris Godwin just signed for more than him as a number 2 wide receiver. But here's the other thing that I have noticed. Teams that have 2 very good wide receivers that are getting paid, they don't seem to be that terrible, right? All right? Tampa Bay, playoff team. Philly won the Super Bowl. That's not bad. Cincinnati was out of the Super Bowl last year, or out of the playoffs last year, but they're in and out. They're a good team every single year. And then you have the Dolphins. I don't know what they're doing. So it's not necessarily a recipe for success, but it's also not a recipe for disaster. And when I look at Jameson Williams, that's going to put him somewhere in this range, that just below $30 million. And I think if they re-sign him to a contract right now, you're looking at a guy who's making, I would give him Devontae Smith money at $25 million and say, come on, man, you have to be happy with that. You have to be happy with that. If it's $30 million, I'm like, ooh, that's a little rich for my blood. But I also don't think he's going to take 20. So that 25, so that's the question I have for you. Are you willing to pay Jameson Williams $25 million? Now, here's the thing that I want to consider as well. We have a lot of people that we have to re-sign. I get that. You could give him a large amount of money and tack it on to next year's salary. This is the salary cap table for this year. We still have an extra $48 million. We can roll that into next year if we continue to have that. We could even put J-Mo's contract extension on that. That's quite frankly what I would start doing. I would start getting money off this year's cap space with some signing bonuses of these guys that are going to be signed down the line. Next year, all right, we are already down here at 29 with negative $14 million already on the books. All right, we need to start taking money away, and then the year after that we're at 28. Now, yes, there's $95 million left, but that's only with 35 players on the roster. All right, we need to make sure we are in a good financial state. So I did not think Jameson Williams would be the guy that we re-sign for big money, but it might make sense. We might be saying to ourselves, look, we have a phenomenal offense. Let's continue to have a phenomenal offense. We'll continue to put money toward the offensive side of the ball, and we'll continue to play defense at a decent clip as long as we can. But Jared Goff has the connection. It can be good. What are your thoughts on signing J-Mo? If we sign J-Mo for $25 million a year, I think I might be for it. Like, I'm good with trading him. I know that sounds awful, but I'm also good with paying him. I don't think the Eagles regret signing Devontae Smith to a $25 million a year deal. I don't think they regret it. I don't think the Bengals are going to regret T. Higgins. I don't think the Dolphins are going to regret Jalen Waddle if he stays healthy. Like, these are guys that are legit number 1 wide receivers, but they just change your offense entirely. They allow, yes, we have a good offensive line, but one of the reasons our run game is so good is because we have a guy who can stretch the field. Do you have someone that can do that if he's not there? And then you have, Tesla, all right, and you're sitting here and you're like, all right, do you want to sit there and hope that he's the next J-Mo, or do you want to just allow him to be a good third receiver? Like, those are the kind of things that you have to look at, and you have to continue to build that depth on your team. You can't have everybody at every position. Brad Holmes has proven that he can work well with an interior offensive line, that he can draft it at a high caliber position. So you don't need to spend tons of money there. We're saving some money on the Frank Ragnow contract. We're going to be getting out of Taylor Decker money eventually. Maybe it works. Maybe it works. All right. Hey, thank you all for watching. Keep watching more Lions content. It's crazy when news like this comes out in June. I love it. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.